Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Life Unstructured podcast. Yeah. Let's go. I am super excited for today's topic. I am happy to be here and I'm happy that you are here with me. Today's episode is Queen, Pawn, and Quarterback, the Black Woman. So, we're going to be talking about Black women and how they are seen and or treated here in the United States through the lens of Rihanna's Super Bowl performance. Ooh, yes, congratulations on that baby. So that's going to be our topic today. We're going to start by leading in with just a couple of facts and a couple of quotes and interviews and things like that regarding the Super Bowl. And then it's going to get real. It's going to get real deep real quick because then we're going to break all of these things down. There's not going to be a whole lot of structure because this is Life Unstructured, but we're going to get into it and we're going to make the most sense of it that we can. Okay. So I want to start now by just going into the definition of quarterback and what a quarterback is. So I'm going to read here the definition of a quarterback. An offensive back in football who usually lines up behind the center, calls the signals, and directs the offensive play of the team. He calls plays, initiates actions, and handles the snap. We all know what a queen is, okay? And we all should know what a pawn is. Okay, let's get into it. Super Bowl 2023, Rihanna. I'll share my opinion at the end, but Rihanna's my girl, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about Rihanna and her career and a couple of things that she touched on in a couple of interviews. We all know that Rihanna is showing out for the immigrants in this country, the Black women in this country, and just showing that you can be fierce, you can succeed, and you can be successful in this country, even if you are not born here. And she's also showing out for Black women to say, like, look at this, look what we can do. But also in an interview with the ET Canada, she spoke on how she wanted to use this performance as a good representation for her son, and how, as a mother, this was something that she felt like, she said there was a thrill of the challenge. She said that it is important for her son to see this. I absolutely agree. Like, as far as women and their strength goes, like, ooh, the human body, let's just say, is incredible. Okay. And as a mom myself, I do feel that similar responsibility to represent and to show my daughter that mommy can do anything and so can you. And we are not limited by anything, even though they may try. Okay. We are not limited by anything. We are stronger and we rise above all. You know what I'm saying? But that really resonated with me because of that reason alone. And I feel like that resonates with a lot of mothers as well, a lot of parents as well, is just to show your kids, like, they can't put limits on us. They think they can, but they can't. Who is they? We ain't going to talk about that. Okay. I wanted to start there because that part really struck home with me. And she also talked in that same interview about being representative of immigrants and being representative of Black women. And so for me, I know growing up, this is going to be a funny story, but growing up, you know, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, as you can see, I got a little forehead on me. Okay. I got a little something. And growing up, I always used to be like, oh, like, my head is really big. Like, I have a big forehead. And my mom always used to say, like, Rihanna has a big forehead and Rihanna is beautiful. And so I've been in love with Rihanna since I was a little girl because she was representation for me. Like, she was a Black woman out here doing her thing. I'm not going to say Rihanna has a big forehead. I think that there is that in African women and in Black women, there is a certain trait where sometimes our foreheads can be a little bit larger, and we can own that. But I don't think that that is a visual flaw. I think that it's beautiful. So for me, it took me a long time to embrace that can be beautiful. But I think that that started very young with my mom telling me, like, Rihanna is gorgeous. Look at her forehead. And if she can rock it, you can rock it too. So I feel like that her representation has always been amazing for Black women. And we're going to get into some of the negatives that people have been saying, because I feel like some of it is honestly ridiculous. But I feel like she's always been a good representation for a lot of young Black girls. And for me, definitely for me. And she is someone that I feel like is a great role model, especially for people from Barbados. You know what I mean? She was saying, I'm proud to be putting Barbados on the stage. As far as representation goes, absolutely, and I 100% agree. Now, there's people online, I've seen the tweets where they've been saying, like, oh, she might have touched her crotch, and I feel like that is inappropriate for the setting, or they feel like she is a bad role model because of her political standpoint. As far as politics goes, I try not to get too deep into politics, but this is a podcast, so it'll come up. As far as politics goes, I do feel as if everyone should be allowed to have their own political beliefs. And everyone should be allowed to express their own political beliefs, because that is a part of living in this country, right? So I don't look at her and say, like, oh, her political beliefs make her a bad representation for Black women in this country. Now, other people might, but that is their opinion. But when you tie in politics to this, that is another thing that I feel like, and this is why this episode is called Queen, Pawn, and Quarterback, because I've seen a lot of more conservative leaning people have this idea, which who knows, could be true, could be not, that Rihanna and her performance in the Super Bowl was a trap for conservatives, for the lighter skinned conservatives. And now here's my thing, and this is where it's going to start getting deep. I do feel that for a very long time, Black women have been used as a pawn here in the States for a very long time. I mean, we're tracing all the way back to when Black women were breastfeeding white babies. So there is this notion that Rihanna's Super Bowl performance was a political pawn to basically trap lighter-skinned conservatives into bashing the Black performers and lifting up the white performer that performed at the Super Bowl, regardless of his political beliefs, or without checking his political beliefs. Now, here's the thing. This may be true to some, but for me, like I said, I feel like that is also a lens that you could use to look at the way that Black women have been treated here in the United States, because this woman's going out here, she's doing her thing, and even though it's not a paid performance for her, she still repped her business so that she could get some coin, okay? And maybe she went into it not thinking that it was going to be anything political, and yet there's still political people, whether it's a pawn or not, saying it's a pawn, and that in itself, saying that it's a political trap in itself, is using her performance as a political pawn. And oftentimes here in the US, we see that happen. Brittany Griner, oftentimes in the US, we see Black women used as pawns here. And it is upsetting. It is upsetting to see and to constantly have to relive scenarios where we are being used, even just for something that we are doing for ourselves, our families, or the people that we love. It's taken into a context where now it has to be used for some sort of political tug of war game. It does become a bit ridiculous. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think and if you think that that theory is correct. And so there is that aspect of, was this a political stunt? Now, whether it was a political stunt or not, like, my girl Riri was getting it, okay? And I want to talk about some of the crazy hate that she was getting. And this also kind of ties into the political aspect as well, with some of the hate coming from a former president. And it was mainly because of her beliefs and her standpoint on that particular president, which, mind you, it is not illegal or out of the ordinary for someone to not like a particular political figure. That's why we vote. If you don't like that one, you vote for the other one. If you don't like that one, you vote for the other one, or you don't vote. She did get a certain amount of hate online for her performance. And I just want to dive into that for a second as someone who has been pregnant before. So we have this tweet from a former president saying, "Epic fail. Rihanna gave without question the single worst halftime show in Super Bowl history. This after insulting far more than half of our nation, which is already in serious decline with her foul, insulting language. Also, so much for her stylist." There was obviously going to be other politicians riding that coattail. We already know that. And I won't read those tweets because I honestly don't want to give it too much energy. But we also had other people, and Black people nonetheless, which we have to fix that. We have to get on one accord, because this is why we end up where we end up every time. But anyway, I digress. So we also had Black people all over social media saying it was a boring event, saying that Rihanna doesn't have vocal skills. Multiple bashing comments, which I felt were honestly insane, completely insane. So let me explain why. So we know in the history of the Super Bowl, it's usually not a paid event, right? And yet, she took the opportunity to promote her business, okay? So she could get a little, you know what I'm saying? A little coin. Better have my money, right? Right. Mind you, she's pregnant. They're talking about she touched her crotch. Let me tell you something. Anybody who has been pregnant knows at a certain point in your pregnancy, there comes a time when you feel all kinds of things down there. You feel pressure, you feel kicks, you feel pain, you feel all kinds of things down there. And even though this is something that Rihanna has done at previous events, also a lot of artists have done at previous events, honestly, I would not be surprised if she might have felt something down there, doing all that up and down, and just reached down for just a quick second to make sure everything was cool. Do you hear me? Like, when I was pregnant, I used to just stop and just feel down there for a second. Like, we're walking through the mall and I just gotta stop because I just felt something crazy down there. I felt a kick or a something felt like it was coming out for a second. It gets hectic down there. You're making a person, you're carrying a person. And so I just wanted to take a second to recognize that she promoted a business. She did a complete Super Bowl performance. She did not get winded. As a pregnant person, that is hard. She is making a human being. And she did it with such grace. She gave a tribute. There was a tribute in there that not a lot of people picked up on. She did a phenomenal job. And I have been trickling in my opinion, even though I said I would wait till the end. She did a phenomenal job of holding herself completely together and very professionally under a circumstance that many pregnant people do not do. It is not easy. Honestly, as a pregnant person, I can even imagine being lifted that high into the air without having a panic attack or getting nauseous and getting sick. So the bashing on the internet is like, whoa, has taken me like by storm, because it just doesn't add up to the amount of work that it probably took to do the performance. Yes, she might not have danced as much as Rihanna would normally dance, but she's also pregnant. That leads me into the queen aspect of this, because I'm like, yes, girl, you did your thing. And there were so many people supporting her, so many families supporting her. We're talking regular families, we're talking celebrity families, so many people cheering her on from the crowd that have seen her progression and that are seeing her do this like in real life time. That is why I named the episode Queen, Pawn, and Quarterback. Because truthfully, truth be told, some of them people went to the Super Bowl to watch Rihanna. Okay? Some of them people went there to see a Rihanna concert. They had t-shirts made saying a Rihanna concert interrupted by a football game. Okay? Some of these people just wanted to go see Riri. And so, with that alone, to diminish her and say that she is not Super Bowl performance worthy is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it comes down to Black women being degraded all the time. First of all, let's talk about Black people in this country in general. But when you drop to the level of a Black woman, which is crazy to even say, because we should be going up to the level of a Black woman. But in the society's eyes, when you think of a Black woman, we've constantly been told the Black woman is the most unprotected person in the United States and the most disrespected, right? And so here's this woman doing this amazing feat that most people cannot do, period. And she's being bashed online. It's insane. And so for me, this episode had to start with Queen, because there was just no way. When I think about when I was pregnant, there was just no way I could do that. Okay? He's talking about her stylist. Listen, I couldn't even fit in my clothes. Okay? I couldn't even fit in my clothes. When I was pregnant, I probably needed a stylist. All right? I was putting anything on. I didn't even like clothes touching my skin. So for her to be up there, first of all, in all them clothes, because when you're pregnant, even in the winter, you get hot. So for her to be up there in all them clothes, doing all that movement, like stylist is on point. The stylist is on point because the stylist chose something that her as a pregnant woman could operate in well and efficiently and give a dang good show. Okay? I don't know how she wore all them clothes, honestly. Like, I am in awe of this woman at this point. So yes, put the queen on the pedestal. Give the queen the flowers. This is like wild what she did. I can't even wrap my head around it. All that while her man cheered her on the sidelines, which is just beautiful to see. It's always beautiful to see thriving Black relationships, thriving Black love. But now this wraps into my next topic, and we'll probably wrap back around. But this wraps into, in the beginning of this episode, I described a quarterback. And a lot of times people praise the quarterbacks for calling the shots, you know what I'm saying, and really leading. So, the reason why quarterback is in here, and this is another look at America through the lens of the Rihanna Super Bowl. And this is going to get deep. I say this for last because it's going to get deep. So, Rihanna killed it. Okay. When we talk about calling the shots, she was calling shots. She was calling shots. Okay. She was making the plays, she was calling the shots, and she was promoting that business. Luckily, right, and happily, she has a thriving Black relationship, a thriving relationship, and a thriving family, right? And like I said before, a lot of people did come to the Super Bowl to see Rihanna, okay, quarterbacking it up. So here's the thing. Oftentimes, here in the US of A, a lot of Black women have to carry a lot on their shoulders. A lot of what Black women have to be the quarterbacks for their family. They have to be these leaders, and they have to do it because of a system that has been set in place for years, that has been operating, unfortunately, as it should. A lot of folks like to say that the system is broken. The system is not broken. The system needs to be broken. So, I'm like, let me try to get into this as much as I can without being shadow banned on my first episode, right? So, here's the thing. When you look into Black communities, when you look into some of the larger Black communities, I should say, they have a tendency to be in areas of low income. And if you look back in history, and if you've watched any documentaries on this or read any books on this, you know that there was a time in the United States, and some believe that the time is still here, where there was mass incarcerations. Now, these mass incarcerations would be taking mainly Black men from the homes, Black men from our communities. And so when that happened, a lot of Black women had to step up and run and lead homes by themselves. And because of that, those women had a lot to carry. And now the cycle has been continuing in a way. And I think this goes back to representation of a strong Black unit, because I feel like even though ASAP was not up on the stage, there's videos of him down beside and supporting her. And I think that even is a representation of a strong Black unit, which is something that we desperately need in the Black community. I say this to say that Black women have been holding a lot of weight on our shoulders for a long period of time. And even now, the young women who have grown up in those households where those mothers had to run it and run it on their own, they grew up in that mentality. And so they still have that mentality now. And so they still feel like they cannot rest, right? This is, in another sense, a way that we can look at the United States through the lens of Rihanna's Super Bowl performance. Because for a lot of folks, they were like, I am ready to see Rihanna. Like, let's go, let's go. And then after it was over, it was Rihanna dumping season time. And that is so reminiscent of how this world has been for a lot of Black women during that time of mass incarceration, and even sometimes still now, especially during 2020 protest season time. There was this time when it was like, let's go, Black women, we love you, come on, we got you, we see you, you've been holding on to so much weight for so many years. We want to hear you, we want to see you, we love you. Even in niche communities, everybody likes to have their black girlfriend. Okay, that's my Black girlfriend. And then when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, we get dumped on. And it's crazy. Like, it's a crazy experience because it's like a roller coaster. It's like acceptance and non acceptance. It even shows that even though we can grow so much and go so high in so many different realms and communities, we can still have the same experience where we are accepted in and then we are dumped on. And in so many ways, sometimes when a game is lost, people blame the quarterback. All this to say, all this unstructured content, right? To say that a lot of lessons can be learned from Rihanna's Super Bowl performance. And a lot of Rihanna's Super Bowl performance can be reflected upon the community as a whole. I think Rihanna did a phenomenal job. I think the fact that she got up there and did that with a baby in her belly is crazy. It's insane. And to see other Black individuals, period, tear her down hurts. It hurts not only personally to me, and maybe to her, but it hurts in the long run for the community that we're trying to build. If we are trying to promote a community where we are all working together and we are pulling each other up, then why do we constantly bring each other down? Right? Or why do we constantly go for other communities bringing us down? I feel like now more than ever, there has been more strong representations of Black families. There's been more strong representations of Black communities rallying behind each other. There has been more push for community, period, and for community standing together and being together. And so for the ball to be fumbled this much, for this large of an event, it hurts to see, and it hurts us as a community because we can do better than that, because we are better than that. So from the lens of the Super Bowl, we can take that Rihanna's a queen, okay, and our Black women up here in the industry are killing it. They are sitting on their thrones and they are showing that they cannot be decrowned, no matter who is trying to take the crown from them. It is also showing that even though we work hard for our own individuality in this country, somehow, still to this day, we are still being used as political pawns and political bait. And it also shows that Black women have been holding on to, whether it be truthful to you that you are holding on to these responsibilities, because there is still a lot of single moms in the Black community who are doing it and killing it and doing it well, but they are holding on to that responsibility, and it is rough, it is tough. Or you have come from a household like that and you still feel like you have that responsibility. And it is also showing that as Black women, sometimes we are the quarterback. We have to be. But I just want to extend this message to Black women to say, even though sometimes we have to be the quarterback, and sometimes we are, sometimes we have to rest. We have to rest. And I'm sure Riri is sitting at home right now. First of all, woo, the Vogue cover. Okay, girl. But I'm sure that afterwards, Rihanna was like, I can rest. She said in one of her interviews that it is nonstop. It is nonstop as soon as it starts. And I'm sure afterwards she sat down. Okay. I think that sometimes as Black women, as Black mother figures, sometimes we need to sit down and rest for a second. And I know that it can get overwhelming, and at certain points we feel like we cannot sit down. There is no way possible, because we have to keep moving, because we have people that are depending on us, right? But we do have to rest at some point. We do have to sit down at some point, because we can bend so far that we break, and we don't want to do that. And that's another thing where people are just demanding so much of Rihanna. They are demanding new music. Then they're like, well, the Super Bowl performance was good, but dang, she's having a baby. We're not going to get no new music. And this woman has been giving you, she's been giving you face and body goals for years. She has been giving you, okay, skincare. And she has been giving you lingerie, underwear, activewear for years. Okay? Sometimes you gotta sit down. She said, let me have a family real quick. Okay. And that's okay. There is only so far that Black women can bend before they break, right? And so give Riri some room, okay? She's been bending for some time now. And give yourself some room, right? Because you have to. I have too. At one point in time, I had to sit myself down too. I was doing too much. I was running myself too thin. So, for me, I'm proud of Rihanna, okay? And I'm proud of all the other moms that are out here killing it. All our other quarterbacks that are out here doing the thing. All our other queens that are out here doing the thing. Beware of being a pawn, right? It's so hard because it's almost like no matter what we do, right? Make sure you're that queen in that game, not the pawn, right? I feel like a lot of us settle for being the pawn. Don't settle for being the pawn. Get out there, be the queen, do you, okay? Don't let anybody try to take your crown or try to decrown you. Like, stand strong on it. And that's what Rihanna has done. That is the representation that she has given us. She has given us the representation that us as Black women, like, we can freaking rock the world. And we can also have a family. And we can also have a business. And we can also be a partner. And we can also be, you know what I mean? Like, we can wear as many hats as we want. But I'm sure she's not pulling it all off without some rest. All right. So, this has been a long one. But this has just been the way I have connected this performance to the way of the world. And my message to other moms. How far I feel like Rihanna's representation goes just beyond what she said in the interview. It goes to all of the mothers, all of the Black women, all of the immigrants, all of the little girls. You know, it spans beyond that. And it shows what we can do, what we are capable of, and what you are made of. Period. So, think about the things that we've talked about here today. Stand tall and do the dang thing. And think about following your dreams. Rihanna said in that interview, it's a celebration for her because she never thought that little girl would get there, right? But she had a dream and she followed that dream. And that's also representation for you to do the same and for me to do the same, right? So, with that being said, I am really happy that you joined me on this episode today. And I cannot wait for the next one. I feel like this episode has been like kind of all over the place, but kind of not. Um, let's all get out there and get our Riri on, kill it. And I will see you guys next time on the next episode. Much love, much light, y'all. Peace out. Peace, 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 peace.